We would like to invite you to join us on the Sabbath Day Live via the internet. Log on to our website, which is www.theisraelofgod.com. Click on the link Sabbath Day Live on our homepage. You will need Windows Media Player to view our program. We stream live twice every Sabbath at 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Central Time. If you enjoy our program, we would appreciate your donations to help defer the cost of continuing this work. Send donations to the Israel of God, 2515 East 75th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60649. Also, if you're in the Chicago area, please feel free to join us at our study class located at 2515 East 75th Street here in Chicago.
I've been looking,
searching, trying to find the right way to walk. Stay beside me, guide me, and try me. I wanna walk in your light.
I've been looking,
searching, trying to find the right way to walk.
the Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. And whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemy, my faith and trust I put all in thee. Believe you got the world in your hand. You bless me, Lord, I know I can stand.
Show me the way, Lord.
I will be faithful, for I am desolate and afflicted. Lord, show me the way.
No one else, I want to say to the people that are watching us live on the internet, good afternoon. And as always, it is good to stand before you on the Lord's Sabbath day. You know, sisters and brothers, we're going to get right to this lesson. This lesson is titled The Parable of the Vineyard. The Parable of the Vineyard. The reason the Lord calls me to put a lesson like this together is because, sisters and brothers, the Lord created this man and set him up to serve him so he could become like him. And this man have turned totally away from it. And this vineyard we're going to show you represents God's people and all other people that will join us that the Lord set up. And what happened is the ministers have hijacked the vineyard. And Jesus let them know that he knows that they have hijacked his vineyard.
Yes, sir.
Because it's getting to the point now you hear all kind of ministry, but you don't hear the word of God. You get people that come and hear the word of God sometime for the first time when we read the Bible, they think that they're in a strange place. And I wonder where you're getting this stuff from. All you got to do is have your Bible with you, and we're going to do this together. Now, Jesus gave a parable, sisters and brothers, and we're going to show you this parable is strictly against the men that call themselves ministers because they have woefully destroyed God's vineyard. They have woefully destroyed his word. And the people don't have a clue. Everybody thinking that they know what thus said the Lord. And the knowledge you have won't get you across the street, let alone in God's kingdom. Now we're going to start this in Matthew, the 21st chapter. Because he gave this parable, we're going to read this whole parable. Then we're going to turn around and break it down, verse by verse. Matthew 21, and get your mark and keep it there because we're going to be in and out of Matthew's all afternoon. In this, sisters and brothers, the Lord put these things out here so he would warn us of what is going on, so we will be aware of what's going on, so we won't get caught napping. Because he wants to let us know that things that are not the way they seem to you. And what you see is not necessarily is what you are getting. Now we're going to start this at verse 33. Matthew 21 and verse 33. 21 and verse 33. Okay, go ahead.
Here another parable. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about and digged a winepress in it.
Go ahead.
And built a tower, let it out to husbandmen, and went to a far country.
Now we're going to show you this household that represents the Lord, sisters and brothers. Say he planted a vineyard, and he rented it out and let it out to a husbandman. In other words, he put it in the hand of people that were supposed to cultivate this vineyard, teach this vineyard, grow it so it'll be healthy. But what happened? Go ahead and read.
And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen that they might receive the fruits of it.
Now, when it's time, he sent his servants to the husbandmen. We're going to look at these servants, and we're going to have a good look at this. Go ahead and read.
And the husbandman took his servants and beat one, and killed another,
Go
and
ahead.
stoned another. Again, he sent other servants more than the first.
Go ahead.
And they did unto them likewise. But last of all, he sent it to him his son.
So now he sent his husbandmen, he sent his servants rather to these husbandmen. They beat some, they stoned some, they killed some. So last of all, he said, I'm going to send my son. I know they're going to pay reverence him. Go ahead and read.
Saying, they will reverence my son. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance.
Ain't that something? When they saw the son, they said, let's kill him, and we're going to take over his inheritance. Go ahead and read.
And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and slew him.
Go ahead.
And when the Lord thereof of the vineyard cometh, what will he do unto those husbandmen?
So the Lord asked a question. Now he sent his servant, they stoned and killed him. Now he sent his son, they cast him out of the vineyard and they killed him.
Right.
So he asked the question, what do you think the Lord's going to do to these husbandmen? Jesus asked these Pharisees here, what did they say? Go ahead and read.
They said unto him, he will miserably destroy those wicked men.
Go ahead.
And will let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen, which shall render him the fruits in their seasons.
Now, we're going to look at this, sisters and brothers. So he's going to destroy them and let his vineyard out to other people that's going to render him his fruit in their season.
Right.
And we're going to show you, sisters and brothers, that it's not like what people say. You know, you have people say the church or either the Gentiles say, well, you know, now God took the church away from the Jews now and gave it to the Gentiles. We're going to investigate this verse by verse. Right. Now, let's start it all over at verse 33. But keep your marker because we're going to be in and out of here because we're going to find out who everybody is so you will know where to look and who to look at and who to be suspicious of.
Right.
Verse 33. Verse 33. Read it.
Here another parable. There was a certain household holder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about and digged a winepress in it and built a tower and let it out to husbandmen and went into a far country.
Now, first thing is we're going to see who this vineyard is. We're going to have a good look. Now, let's go in the 80th chapter of Psalms. 80th chapter of Psalms. Psalm chapter 80. And we're going to have us a real good look at all of this, sisters and brothers. That's why we're going to let the Bible talk to you. 80 and verse 1. 80 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Give ear, O shepherds of Israel, thou that leadest Joseph like a flock.
Go ahead.
Thou that dwellest between the cherubims, shine forth.
So he said, give ear, O shepherd of Israel, one that leadeth Joseph. But the big thing, he said, thou that dwellest between the cherubim. So this is the one that was in the Garden of Eden. Where the Lord said, put the cherubims with turning swords to keep the way of the tree of life, because this is the Lord here. He still dwells between the cherubim.
Right.
Wherever he go, he don't travel without these cherubim. But skip down to verse 7 and go ahead.
Turn us again, O God of hosts, and cause thy face to shine, and we shall be saved.
Go ahead.
Thou hast brought a vine out of Egypt. Thou hast cast out the heathen and planted it.
Now, I said, you have bought a vine out of Egypt. What vine did God bring out of Egypt? Israel, sisters and brothers. And he cast out the Canaanites, and he planted Israel in the land of Canaan. Go ahead and read.
Thou preparest room before it, and didst cause it to take deep root.
Go ahead.
And it filled the land.
Go ahead.
The hills were covered with the shadow of it.
Uh-huh.
And the boughs thereof were like the goodly cedars.
Now, so when he planted them, Israel spread it, took root, and started to prosper in the land. Everything was going good. But this is a people that don't know too much about doing good too long. But go ahead and read.
She sent out her boughs into the sea,
Uh-huh.
and her branches into the river.
So he sent out her boughs to all the area. Was prospering. Then all of a sudden, something happened. Go ahead and read.
Why hast thou then broken down her hedges?
Well, why are you broken down her hedges? Go ahead.
So that all they which pass by the way do pluck her.
So everybody come by can pick her. Go ahead and read.
The boar out of the wood do it waste it.
Uh-huh.
And the wild beasts of the field do it devour it.
Good. Look like everybody's doing this vine in, this vineyard in. So why have you this happen? Go ahead and read.
Return, we beseech thee, O God of hosts.
Go ahead.
Look down from heaven and behold and visit this vine.
Visit this vine. Go ahead.
The vineyard which thy right hand hath planted, and the branch that thou madest strong for thyself.
Uh-huh.
It is burned with fire.
Uh-huh.
It is cut down.
Go ahead.
They perish at the rebuke of thy countenance.
So that same vineyard that you done planted, it is burned with fire.
Yep.
It's cut down, and it is suffering from your rebuke, God. This vineyard that God brought out of Egypt and planted it in the land of Canaan. So what we want to know is, we want to look at this husbandman and see who this householder rather, and see who this householder is that planted this vineyard.
Right.
Let's start in the Songs of Solomon. Songs of Solomon. Because we're going to run it down, we're going to let this Bible talk to you, sisters and brothers. Everybody have their opinion, but the Bible have the last word. Now, this Songs of Solomon, you hear people tell you, well, you know, this is a love story between Solomon and one of his women, or some of his women. Don't have nothing to do with Solomon and his women, sisters and brothers. And we're going to find that out before we get out of this lesson. Songs of Solomon, the first chapter, and we're going to read verse 1. 1 and 1. Go ahead.
The Song of Songs, which is Solomon.
The Songs of Songs, which is Solomon. Skip down to verse 4 and go ahead.
Draw me. We will run after thee.
Uh-huh.
The king hath brought me into his chambers.
Uh-huh.
We will be glad and rejoice in thee.
Go ahead.
We will remember thy love more than wine.
He said, look, draw me and we'll run after you. We will remember your love more than wine. Go ahead and read.
The upright love thee.
The upright love thee. That means the righteous people love. Then we ain't talking Solomon here, and we're going to show you this. Go ahead and read.
I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem.
Now, you go in one of these translated books, they said, well, this is a Shulamite woman. The word Shulamite means peacefulness, sisters and brothers.
Right.
This is the male talking. I am black, but comely, O you daughters of Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
At the tents of Kedar. At the curtains of Solomon.
Go ahead.
Look not upon me because I am black.
I'm going to do me a half a verse here. Look not on me because I'm black. Go ahead and read.
Because the sun have looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me.
My mother's children was angry with me. Now you stay right here. We're going to come back here. But first thing is we're going to find out who is this guy that called himself black and said his mother's children was angry with him. We need to find who this is. Now let's go into Psalm the 69th chapter. Psalm chapter 69. People have their opinions, sisters and brothers, but we have the book. And that's what counts. Bible is the last of all of it. Psalm 69, and we're going to start reading at verse 6. Psalm 69 and verse 6. Whoever this person is, he must have some real pull with the Lord, because he's talking to the Lord. Look, anybody that bleeds on me, don't ignore him. Psalm 69, and we're going to start reading at verse 6. Psalm 69 and verse 6. Okay, go ahead.
Let not them that wait on thee, O Lord God of hosts, be ashamed for my sake.
Now, listen, pay attention to the way this is going. He said, let not them that wait on thee, O Lord of hosts, be ashamed for my sake. So if you can take this kind of conversation to the Lord, you must have some kind of authority with him or some kind of pull. Go ahead and read.
Let not those that seek thee be confounded for my sake, O God of Israel.
And let not those that seek thee be confounded for my sake, O God of Israel. This guy here keep talking about for his sake.
Right.
That means he have done something for the Lord. What is this? Go ahead and read.
Because for thy sake I have borne reproach.
Because for thy sake I have borne reproach. This is what he's saying to the Lord of hosts. Go ahead and read.
Shame have covered my face.
Shame have covered my face.
I am become a stranger to my mother, to my brethren.
I have become a stranger to my brethren.
And an alien into my mother's children.
And I am alien to my mother's children. Look, sisters and brothers, that means his mindset is different from his mother's children. He couldn't be talking physical, because how can you be an alien and you come from the same woman? He said, but I am alien from my mother's children.
Right.
What else did it say? Go ahead and read.
For the zeal of thine house have eaten me up.
For the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up.
And the reproaches of them that reproach thee.
And the reproaches of them that reproach thee
are fallen upon me.
has fallen upon me. Let's go find out who's doing all this talking by the mouth of David. Let's go into Romans, the 15th chapter. Romans chapter 15. That's why the Lord had Isaiah write, to the law and to the testimony. To the law and to the testimony. If they don't speak according to that, there is no light in them. There is no truth. You have to use the Old and the New Testament, sisters and brothers, so you can put this thing together. And here people want to be a New Testament Christian or either Old Testament scholar, and both of these books are older than the one that do all the talking. So we're going to let this talk to us, sisters and brothers. Romans 15. Romans chapter 15, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Romans, the 15th chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Okay, read it.
We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. And not to please ourselves.
Those of us that are strong in the knowledge, sisters and brothers, we're supposed to, have a little patience with people that don't have no knowledge. And not please ourselves and try to act like we know so much. We are good for that. Go ahead and read.
Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification. For even Christ pleased not himself.
For even Christ pleased not himself. Go ahead.
But as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me.
But as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me. David just wrote that, didn't he? But who was that talking? Jesus, sisters and brothers. He committed no sin. So the sin, the wages of sin is death. We committed the sin, and he did the dying.
Yes, sir.
In other words, the debt that you made, I had to pay. Who was the one that said that? The one that said he was black. Who was the one that said that? The one that said his mother's children was angry with him. But we're going to pursue it a little bit. But we know that this is Jesus talking about the mouth of Solomon, sister and brother. Just like it's him talking about the mouth of David. So let's go back to the Songs of Solomon and read that second half of this 6th verse. I like to do that. Let you know I can be a preacher too. I can do a half verse and talk to you for a minute. But I can't talk too long because I got a bad memory. Sometimes I can't tell you what I did this morning. But I'm going to read this book, and I can read to the same spot every time. You can ask me the same question, I can turn to this Bible and read it the same thing every time. Now, the second half of the Songs of Solomon, verse 6, Songs of Solomon, 1st chapter, 2nd half of verse 6. I got to do it. Ha! Okay, read it.
They made me the keeper of the vineyards.
They made me the keeper of the vineyards.
But mine own vineyard have I not kept.
But mine own vineyards have I not kept. So first thing is, if that's the case, then we need to find out who is the Lord's vineyard. Let's go into Isaiah, the 5th chapter. Isaiah chapter 5. Isaiah chapter 5. And we're going to continue this love story with the Lord and his vineyard. Because we didn't know who this vineyard is that he brought up out of Egypt and planted. Isaiah 5 and 1. Isaiah 5, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Because, sister and brother, the Lord put all this stuff in here for us to read. He didn't give you this great big Bible for me to read a half a verse and tell you what's on my mind. You don't want to know what's on my mind. Believe me. 5 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song for my beloved touching his vineyard.
We're talking about the same thing, aren't we? I sing a song to my well-beloved touching his vineyard. Go ahead and read.
My well-beloved have a vineyard in a very fruitful hill.
Uh-huh.
And he fenced it.
Uh-huh.
And gathered out the stones thereof.
Go ahead.
And planted it with the choicest vine.
Uh-huh.
And built a tower in the midst of it.
Uh-huh.
And also made a wine press therein.
Look, he did everything good. He fenced it, put a wine press in it, put a tower in it, moved all of the stones out of it.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
And he looked that it should bring forth grapes.
Uh-huh.
And it brought forth wild grapes.
So when he looked for pure, unadulterated grapes, he saw wild grapes. Go ahead and read.
And now, inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah,
Uh-huh.
judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard.
He said, now, I done did everything right, so I want y'all to judge between me and my vineyard. Go ahead and read.
What could have been done more to my vineyard
Uh-huh.
that I have not done in it?
Go ahead.
What for? When I looked that it should bring forth grapes,
Uh-huh.
brought it forth wild grapes.
He said, what could I have done more? I put a
Right.
fence around it. I planted the choicest vine in it. I removed all the stones out of it. I gave it the best of everything. I built a tower in it. I built a wine press.
Right.
What more? I gave this vineyard everything that a vineyard would need. What more could I have done?
Right.
So he said, now, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do to my vineyard. Read it.
And now go to.
Uh-huh.
I would tell you what I would do to my vineyard.
I will tell you what the Gentile going to do to your vineyard.
Uh-uh.
Or what the Hamite going to do to your vineyard? Or what any other race of people going to do to your vineyard?
Nope.
He didn't say that, did he?
Nope.
He said, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. Because I want a lot of my Hebrew brothers to pay attention to this now. So you know from whence your whooping comes. You're looking in the wrong place.
Right.
I'm going to tell you what I will do to my vineyard.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
I will take away the hedge thereof.
I'm going to take away the hedges of it. Go ahead and read.
And it shall be eaten up.
And everybody that come by going to be able to eat it on it. Go ahead and read.
And break down the wall thereof.
I'm going to break down the walls.
And it shall be trodden down.
And it's going to be trodden down. Go ahead and read.
And I will lay it waste.
I'm going to lay it waste.
And it shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns.
It's not going to be cultivated. They're going to grow up like weeds in an open patch.
Right.
No direction. No cultivation. Go ahead and read.
I will also command a cloud that they rain no rain upon them.
Uh-huh.
For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts
Is who?
is the house of Israel.
We ain't talking about plants at all, huh? That is the vine that he brought out of Egypt and set up in a charged land, drove out all the Canaanites,
Right.
gave them the best of everything, and when he looked for righteousness, he found wickedness. I'm going to tear the walls down.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to remove the hedges. I'm going to let everybody that want to come in here and do something to it, do it. The Lord is the one that did this, sister and brother. Go ahead and read.
And the men of Judah his pleasant plant.
And the men of Judah is his pleasant plant. Why did he do this? Go ahead and read.
And he looked for judgment,
Uh-huh.
but behold oppression.
Uh-huh.
For righteousness, but behold a cry.
Go ahead.
Woe unto them that join house to house.
But he looked, that's enough.
Right.
He looked for righteousness, but a cry. He looked for judgment. He saw oppression. So we didn't learn oppression from any other people. We do it ourselves. It is even written that we sold the poor for a pair of shoes.
Bad shoes.
We would not do what the Lord tells us. So now payday has come. We've been paying a long time, sister and brother. The vineyard of the Lord is the whole house of Israel. That's the people. That's you. Had a sister on the phone the other day was saying, well, you know, these people are Israel, you know, the Mexicans, the Puerto Ricans. I said, look here, sister. Who is it that was brought over here slave? Well, we were. Who is it was sold? We were. Who is it that was hung, castrated, and put in jail? Well, that's us. I said, well, if we're going to take all the punishment, why are you going to give somebody else the glory? You understand? I'm going to go out and I'm going to labor in the field, work all day, and when I set the table, you've been laying under the shade tree, going to sit down and eat with me. I got a problem with that. But the thing about it is, who did it to us? The Lord did. Who is the Vineyard? Israel. Who is the husbandman that planted it? The Lord, even the Lord Jesus. Now let's go back to Matthew the 23rd chapter.
Right.
Matthew the 23rd chapter. So all you got to do is read the book. You don't have to argue with nobody. You read it. They don't. If they accept it, good. If they don't, that's all right too. I tell people all the time, I'm not mad at you if you don't believe what I can read out this book. Right. I am not bad. It is not personal. This word was around way before me, so how can I get personal with it? Just like me telling you, I don't want my sun shining on you. Don't belong to me. Think about what I'm saying. So, we know who the vineyard is. We know who the householder is. Now we need to know who the husbandmen are, the one that he lent it out to. So, let's look at this husbandman. Matthew 23. And we're going to start at verse 1. Because this is what people don't understand. Moses is the one that the Lord set forth after Israel was a nation. Moses was the real high priest, not Aaron, even though he carried the title. Because Moses was the intercessor. The Lord wouldn't listen to nobody but Moses. In fact, the Lord had to pray for Aaron.
Moses.
Moses, huh?
Moses had to pray for him.
Moses, didn't I say that?
Said the Lord.
Well, Moses had to pray for Aaron. But he was the intercessor. You understand? So now, who are the intercessors nowadays? All of them that's set in Moses' seat. Who are those? The ones that call themselves ministers and preachers and teachers and prophets. Imams. Rabbis. All that would take up the mantle as a minister in the Word of God.
Right.
Who did it start? It started with Israel. Matthew 23 and verse 1. And Jesus told these people this, 23 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Then spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
So now the scribes and the Pharisees sat in Moses' seat. These are the ones that did all, that carried the religious banner. These are the ones. Now, this third verse, I added to it, but I was intending to leave it out because the Lord said, do what they do, but not what they said. But this modern day Pharisee and Sadducee, you don't even do what he said. Read the next verse. Go ahead and read.
All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do.
See, now the Pharisees told the people the truth, sisters and brothers. They just didn't believe Jesus was the Messiah. But they taught the law, they taught the commandment, they taught the dietary law, they observed the Sabbath day, all of that. But they wouldn't observe it all themselves. You know, there was a lot of closet preachers.
Right.
To you, I can toe the line. But then if you watch me long enough, you find out that I don't practice what I preach. But he said, all of this said, do. But go ahead and read.
But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
So then at least they would tell you what right is.
Right.
And they do wrong. Nowadays, they don't even tell you what right is. You don't know what right is. He said, but they sat in Moses' seat, sisters and brothers. And anybody that sits in Moses' seat, that means that they are supposed to be a carrier of the Word of God. Right. A minister of the law. Teaching people. So who are the husbandmen that the Lord left his vineyard to? The preachers, the teachers, the rabbis, and everybody else that pick up a mantle. Now let's go back to Matthew, the 21st chapter. Because once the Father had Jesus, because Jesus is the one that did gave all the promises, but still, when he decided to come back and reap the proceeds of his husbandmen, in other words, reap the righteous people, let's see what happened. 21 and verse 34. 21 and 34. Okay, go ahead.
And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen, that they might receive the fruits of it. And the husbandman took his servants and beat one, and killed another and stoned another.
Now, these guys were supposed to present a righteous fruit, somebody that known the law. But what they did, they had their own brand, had come up with their own brand of religion. So what they do, they didn't want to deal with the Lord's servant. They beat some, they stoned some, and they killed some. Go ahead and read.
And the husbandman took his servants and beat one, killed another, and stoned another. And again he sent other servants more than the first.
Go ahead.
And they did unto them likewise.
And they did the same thing. But still, they claimed to be righteous and servants of God. Pharisees did this first, sisters and brothers. Let's go and look at what Jesus said concerning them. Let's go into the 23rd chapter again of St. Matthew's. This time we're going to start at verse 29. 23 and verse 29. 23 and 29. Because the Lord said, look here, you're supposed to be my ministers, the one that's going to work my vineyard and keep it clean and keep it in order. You fail. Verse 29, go ahead.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites.
Go ahead, and that's what it is. Scribes and Pharisees and hypocrites, got lots of them running around here. Go ahead and read.
Because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous. And say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets.
See, now you build the tombs of the prophets. And you varnish the sepulchre. These are sarcophagus. You know, when Israel, that's what it was in those days, you'd put you in a cave. And after so long, they get your bones, they put you in this box. That's sarcophagus, which we pronounce as sepulchre. He said, but you garnish, you take real care of them. You know, you go to the graveyard and you dress down the tombs of the prophets. And then you say, if we had been in those days, we wouldn't have killed the prophets. Go ahead and read.
Wherefore you be witnesses to yourselves, and ye are the children of them which killed the prophets.
He said, so, but you are witnesses to yourself. You are the children of them that killed the prophets.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpents.
He said, well, make a difference then. Now, this is Jesus talking. Don't nobody ever tell you that Jesus called people serpents, do you? Not Jesus. He loved everybody.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
Ye generation of vipers.
Generation of vipers. Go ahead and read.
How can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes.
Go ahead.
And some of them ye shall kill and crucify. And some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city.
He said, now look, you generation of serpents. You can't escape the damnation. Now, he's not talking about the one he had sent before. He said, I'm going to send you more prophets.
Right.
I'm going to send you more servants. And you're going to crucify them. You're going to scourge them. You're going to throw them out of your synagogues. He said, I'm going to do that. That's after he's gone.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
That upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zechariah, son of Berchias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar.
He said, look, you fill up the psalm. Make the difference that your father didn't make.
Right.
But you ain't going to do it because y'all are a generation of vipers. So I'm going to send to you prophets. I'm going to send to you apostles. I'm going to send to you servants. And you're going to do them the same way that your fathers did, that the blood of Abel, that's the one that Cain killed, to Zechariah, that y'all slew between the temple and the altar. And I'm telling you this, sisters and brothers, this same blood is going to be on this generation too. Amen. Because we have not adhered to the word of God.
Right.
Everybody know about Cain killed Abel. But then Zechariah had a real unique history, sisters and brothers. Zechariah, the son of the high priest at that time, Jehoiada. And Jehoiada rescued Joash, which became the king. See, Joash had a real wicked grandmother, Athaliah. Athaliah was more wicked than Jezebel.
Yes, she was.
She was the mother of a king. Her son got killed. This woman wanted to be queen so bad she killed all her grandchildren and younger sons, killed everybody, and set herself up as queen of Israel, the only woman that ever ruled Israel. Don't nobody know her. I heard a woman on radio one time, her mother named her Athaliah. I said, boy, her mother must have really hated her. Because she named her after the most wickedest woman in the whole Bible. Not Jezebel. She worse than Jezebel. But what happened was, some way, this guy, this nurse, sneaked him to this priest, Jehoiada. And the priest hid him. And then the priest got all the nation together. And they conspired against her and killed her and set this boy up as king. And I'm going to show you what this boy did to him. Let's go into 2 Chronicles, the 24th chapter. Because Athaliah, that's a wicked woman. I said, boy, that's why people should have some understanding. Why are you going to curse your daughter with the name of Athaliah?
Yeah.
The name itself is cursed. Because somebody, how you going to kill your own sons and all of your grandsons? She killed them. But this priest stole this boy away and raised and set him up because he had Athaliah killed once he got the nation against him. And so this boy became king. 34-1. 24-1, I'm sorry. 24-1. Okay, go ahead.
Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign.
Look, this guy's name was Joash. So he was 7 years old when he began to reign. So you know he didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
And he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem.
Uh-huh.
His mother's name was also Zebiah of Beersheba.
Uh-huh.
And Joash did that which was right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest.
Now, so that's why he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, because Jehoiada the priest taught him right, raised him up right. He became his father. And he raised him up in the temple. And the boy did everything right because the priest was right. But then the priest didn't live forever. Skip down to verse 15. Verse 15. And read it. Go ahead.
But Jehoiada waxed old and was full of days when he died.
Uh-huh.
And 130 years old was he when he died.
Now, Jehoiada lived 130 years, but he still died because that's the way of man. So let's see what happened to Israel after Jehoiada, the righteous priest that kept the king in order, and he was righteous before the Lord until he died. Skip down to verse 17. Verse 17 and go ahead.
Now after the death of Jehoiada came the princes of Judah and made obeisance to the king.
So now once Jehoiada died, here come the princes of Judah. And they bowed to the king, and I guess they stroked him a little bit. And what happened? Go ahead and read.
Then the king hearkened unto them.
Uh-huh.
And they left the house of the Lord God of their fathers and served groves and idols.
Time this guy died, these guys came to the king. Hey, we don't want to serve the little God of Israel no more. We don't want to deal with the house of the Lord. We got our own God. Mm-hmm. They start dealing with gods of groves of gods, all kind of idols. Go ahead.
And wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this their trespass.
So the Lord brought some drama up on them. Go ahead and read.
Yet he sent prophets to them to bring them again into the Lord. And they testified against them. But they would not give ear.
So he sent prophets to try to turn them around, but they wouldn't listen. But then what else happened? Go ahead and read.
And the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest.
So now all of a sudden the Spirit of the Lord come upon Zechariah. That's the one that the Lord said they killed between the altar and the temple. The son of the man that saved this king's life from his own grandmama.
Right.
And what did he do? Go ahead and read.
Which stood above the people and said unto them, Thus said God, why transgress ye the commandments of the Lord, that ye cannot prosper? Because ye have forsaken the Lord, he have also forsaken you.
He said, why are you doing this? This drama is coming upon you because you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord.
Right.
That's why you're not prospering. Instead of them saying, thank you, brother, what did they do? Go ahead and read.
And they conspired against him and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord.
Ain't that something? Instead of listening to him, they conspired against it. And the same king that his daddy saved had him stoned to death so they could keep dealing with paganism. They want to deal with righteousness, sisters and brothers. So that's why the Lord said, upon you, that generation and this generation will be the blood of all the righteous men. Not only, don't stop at Zechariah now, because a lot of righteous men have been killed in the name of the Lord since Zechariah the priest. A lot of them. Some of the apostles got killed, sisters and brothers. And so Jesus told these people, your problem comes from yourself. You're the one that's killed the prophet. And we are still trying to lay that blame on somebody else. Let's go into Luke, the 13th chapter. Luke chapter 13. See, we don't want to take no blame for nothing. But God knows everything, sisters and brothers. He knows who's doing what. He knows who did what. And if you don't change your way, he knows who to do it to when he comes. But people have hoodwinked you, make you think that God loves everybody and everything. It's not that way, sisters and brothers. It don't work like that. Now, look at what Jesus said to these people. We're going to start at verse 34. Luke 13, rather. Luke 13, and we're going to start reading at verse 34. 13 and 34. Okay, go ahead.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, which killeth the prophets.
Which do what?
Killeth the prophets.
Which killeth the prophets. Go ahead.
And stoneth them that I sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children together, as a hen doeth gather her brood under her wings, and ye would not?
He said, how often I would have gathered you. Look, this man died at 33 and a half years old. How many times did he have to gather Israel? From the day that they were set up as a nation and they went away from him, because Jesus is the only one that we have ever dealt with. The whole world is asleep on that. They think Jesus started with Mary. He didn't start with Mary. I keep saying he didn't come out of Mary. He came through Mary. He's always been around. So he said, I would have gathered you a whole lot of time, but you wouldn't allow me to gather because you kept sinning against me. God do not bless people that willfully sin. Oh, you might get by for a moment, but after a while, the roof going to fall in on you, and it's going to be at the worst time when you least can afford it. That's the way the Lord operates. He says, no, because you would not be gathered. Now look what's happened. Go ahead and read.
Behold, your house is left until you desolate.
He says, so because of that, your house is left until you destroy it. Go ahead and read.
Verily I say unto you, ye shall not see me until the time come when ye shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
He said, look here, you're not going to see me until you shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. That ain't going to happen until he comes, sisters and brothers, out the sky. When the heavens roll back and he starts his descent. Yep. And until that time, your house is still left to you desolate. Everybody lives in your house, and you live in everybody else's house. Just think about it. Everybody's being kept, but you're not kept. Right. Everybody can point at the motherland. You ain't got nowhere to point. Mississippi. Oh, I know better than that. I'm an African American. What part of Africa did you come from? Do you see what's going on in the Sudan? Do you remember how the Nigerians tried to destroy the Biafrans? You understand? Do you see what the Hutsi, the Tutsis, or was it the Hutu did to the Tutsis? Either way it go, they was trying to destroy. So what if you end up in somebody else's house? They come in, what you doing? You done broke into my house. African continent is a big place. Where's your plot of land on it? So what I'm saying, sisters and brothers, the Lord said your house is left to you desolate. Now you live in everybody else's house. You live in Ham's house. You live in Sham's house that ain't a part of you. You live in the Gentile's house. But somebody else live in yours. And you're going to be there until the Lord comes. So what the Lord said, let's go back to the parable. So because we know now that the ones that kill the prophets is Israel.
Yep.
And we know that the husbandman that put him up to it is the religious leader. So now he said, I'm going to send him my son. I know they're going to reverence my son.
Right.
Let's go back to Matthew 21, and we're going to read verse 7. He said, because I know they're going to reverence this guy. They wouldn't dare kill my son. Verse 37, go ahead.
But last of all, he sent it to them his son, saying, they will reverence my son.
And they will reverence my son,
Right.
but when they saw the son, let me go and show you. And he sent first the prophets. They
Right.
killed them, and so now I'm going to send my son. Let's go into Hebrews, the first chapter. We're going to get back here, Hebrews, the first chapter. That's why I told you to keep a marker right here, because we're going to do it verse by verse, because I want you to see it directly, sisters and brothers. Because people have a bad habit of leaving here and saying, well, I don't agree with Bowie. And you don't agree with what Bowie read.
Right.
Ain't got nothing to do with that.
Right.
Hebrews 1, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Hebrews, the first chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
God, who at sundry times and in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets.
So we saw what happened to them, didn't we? They were stoned and they was killed, wasn't it? Go ahead and read.
Having these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he had appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds.
Now, in these last days, he sent us his Son.
Right.
The same one that he had made heir of all things, but it says something here that nobody pays attention. By whom he also made the world. It was the Son that made the world before he became the Son. Right. Jesus is the one that did it. He was just given the order. Go ahead and read.
Who being in the brightness of his glory, and the express image of his person,
go ahead,
and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high.
Now, so he is the one that came, and he looked exactly like the Father. That's why he expressed image. That's why one of the apostles said, show us the Father. He said, you've been looking at me all this time and you have not seen the Father? People read this, Jesus is the Father too now. He said, no, he looked just like me.
Right.
We look the same. But he said by himself purged sin and sat down on the right hand of the Father. In order for him to purge sin, he had to be killed because he was a sin offering. So that lets you know that even before we go and see them kill him, we know that he was killed.
Yes, sir.
But he said he spoke to them first by the prophets. They killed them.
Yep.
So he said, now they're going to reverence my son, so they sent the son. So let's see what they did to him. Let's go back to Matthew 21. Matthew 21. What's a lot of stuff in this parable, ain't it?
It's a lot, brother. It's a lot going on.
That's why Jesus says something and tell you a whole lot. All you got to do is listen and do a little research. Verse 38, Matthew 21 and verse 38. Okay, go ahead.
But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him And let us seize on his inheritance.
Now, okay, here come now. We can kill him, and we can take his inheritance. And nowadays, it's going on right now. Most of the churches on this planet, this is Reverend so-and-so church. And this is Bishop so-and-so church. And this is Pastor so-and-so. You know, I think Andrew even surprised me this morning when he said we got about 20 camps now. My name ain't on none of them. Nope. I had one brother in the Israeli God years ago. I walked down there, they had their local pastor so-and-so. I ain't going to say who. I said then and there, scrape it off. If my name is not on all of these camps that the Lord has blessed me with, how's the local pastor going to put his name on something? By the way, he ain't with us no more. So they said, we're going to kill him.
Here we are.
And we're going to seize on his inheritance. Go ahead and read.
39. And they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and slew him.
They caught him and they cast him out of the vineyard and they killed him.
Yes, sir.
That don't look like much, do it? But I'm going to show you that one verse says a whole lot. I mean a whole lot. Let's listen. Let's go into Leviticus, the 4th chapter. Leviticus chapter 4. You should listen to the Lord sometime. Because he says a whole lot. If only you would give him ear. Because when Jesus died, didn't he say the reproaches of them that reproached thee fell on me? Yep. Didn't we read that? In other words, the debt that you paid, O Israel, that you made, I got to pay. It's all that simple. Now we're going to start at Leviticus 4 because Jesus is a sin offering.
Yeah, he is.
Verse 1. Leviticus the 4th chapter and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, if a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them.
If a soul should sin through ignorance, it's always been like that. Hebrews the 10th chapter tell you if you sin willfully, you got a problem.
Right.
But it's always been like that if you sin willfully. But if you sin in ignorance, the Lord have always had an escape hatch for you. So now, if he sin in ignorance, go ahead.
If the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people, and let him bring for his sin which he hath sinned a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a sin offering.
Now, so let him bring a young bull without blemish. He had to be perfect to the Lord for a sin offering. Go ahead and read.
And he shall bring the bullock into the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, and shall lay his hand upon the bullock's head and kill the bullock before the Lord.
So he's going to bring him in, and he's going to lay his hand up on him, and he's going to kill this young bull before the Lord. Then what else is he going to have? What's he going to do? Skip down to verse 6. Verse 6 and read it.
And the priest shall dip his finger in the blood.
And the priest shall dip his finger in the blood.
And sprinkle of the blood 7 times before the Lord, before the veil of the sanctuary.
And shall sprinkle the blood. Dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the veil. See, this is what a lot of people don't understand. Been in church all their life. They don't understand why, when Jesus died on the cross, that the veil of the temple ripped from top to bottom. The reason it was, sisters and brothers, because the veil separated holy from the most holy place. The Lord was supposed to be in the most holy place. So when somebody sinned, they would kill a young bullock or something. They would take the blood and they would go before the veil and sprinkle it 7 times before the veil. Why 7 times? Because God gave man 7 days and man sinned in the first day.
Right.
And he going to sin on the 7th day. So he needed the blood to cover him every day.
Every day of the week.
Otherwise, this whole creation would be cut off.
That's right.
Because the wages of sin is death. And in order to keep from killing this man, God replaced him with animals. So now, When the priest or anybody sinned, they went before the veil and they would kill his animal and sprinkle the blood. But verse 11, skip down to verse 11 and go ahead.
And the skin of the bullock and all his flesh with his head and with his legs and his inward and his dung, even the whole bullock shall he carry forth without the camp into a clean place.
Wait a minute now. Looks like the camp should be clean, right? But no, actually once you just use the blood. But you take the bullock, the body itself, and you take it out of the camp to a clean place, sisters and brothers. Why? Go ahead and read.
Where the ashes are poured out and burn him on the wood with fire. Where the ashes are poured out shall he be burnt. And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which shall not be done, and are guilty.
Go ahead.
When the sin which they have sinned against it is known, then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin and bring him before the tabernacle of the congregation.
So now if the whole nation sin, and once they find out that they have sinned, then they got to go and get a young bullock and bring him before the elders, before the Lord, and they got to kill him. Go ahead and read.
And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullock before the Lord, and the bullock shall be killed before the Lord.
And the bullock is going to be killed before the Lord, because still the wages of sin is death. Skip down to verse 20. Verse 20 and go ahead.
And he shall do with the bullock as he did with the bullock for a sin offering. So shall he do with this.
Go ahead.
And the priest shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them.
That's how you make atonement for the sin, sisters and brothers, with blood. Without blood, there is no remission. Because the Lord is letting you know that the wages of sin is death. Somebody sinned, some got to die. Go ahead and read.
And he shall carry forth the bullock without the camp.
And he's going to carry him without the camp, the one that they killed for the whole congregation. Go ahead and read.
And burn him as he burned the first bullock. It is a sin offering for the congregation.
So now, he took him out of the camp because to a clean place.
Right.
Now let's get down to the bottom and see what this is talking about. Let's go into Hebrews, the 13th chapter. Hebrews chapter 13. Then you're going to start to get an idea of why the Pharisees took the son
Out of the camp.
and slew him out of the camp. Right. Hebrews 13. And we're going to start reading at verse 9. Hebrews 13, and we're going to start reading at verse 9. See, sisters and brothers, the Lord had all this stuff written because he wanted us to study this. He wanted us to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
He wanted us to know that there's going to come a time when the house that's supposed to represent him don't represent him. And when the time comes when they don't represent him anymore, he wants you to know it is time to leave.
Yes, sir.
Because your very life is at stake. Verse 9, go ahead.
Be not carried about with divers and strange doctrine.
First thing he's warning you is that don't be carried away with divers and strange doctrine. We got all kind of doctrine and strange that come from different ways. That's why you had 12 days of Christmas.
Right.
I'm serious.
Yep.
Because the papa over there, when they brought this thing together, they built temple on old pagan sites. And they got all of these pagan gods, which spread it 12 days and put them all under the banner of Christianity. And they absorbed all of these pagan religions. If y'all hang out until I do the lesson, the big switch, then you're going to understand perfectly what I'm talking about. So he brought them all together. Christmas, Nimrod, the Madonna, Semiramis, and Tammuz come from Nimrod, the original Babylonian. Easter come from the Canaanites. Sunday, as the Christian first day, come from sun worshipers. everything you think is holy and godly, you can run down a pagan connection, sisters and brothers. I'm talking about what's written in the book. I only deal with what's written in the book.
Right.
So he said, look, don't get carried away with all these different doctrines. Go ahead and read.
For it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, not with meats,
Go ahead.
which have not profited them that have been occupied therein.
He said, now your heart be established with grace. You take advantage of this free gift that the Lord, that Jesus gave us by dying for us. Take advantage of it. Be established. You can't be like the other people. Go ahead and read.
We have an altar, wherefore they have no right to eat which serve the tabernacle.
So, because you get some people that come to the point where they don't serve God no more. They serve the church. The church this. And the church, even the mother church will tell you that their doctrine don't necessarily coincide with the Bible. People read that and roll with it. The church say he died on Good Friday and rose Easter Sunday morning. The church say he was born on the 25th day of December. The church say your mama, that was a good woman, she is in heaven looking down. The church have given Satan a domain. And he's ruling in hell. The church did. So when that happened, so these people don't deserve to eat with true servants of God that keeps the law. Keep his commandments, keep it honest, keep his Sabbath day from polluting it, keep his dietary law. Go ahead and read.
11. For the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned without the camp.
So he's letting you know, just like the body of those beasts was killed for sin, they was burned without the camp. Because the camp was dirty. They said it went to a clean place, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Go ahead and read.
But for Jesus also, that he might be sanctified, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate.
Didn't it say that they caught him and cast him out of the vineyard and killed him? So he suffered without the camp. So if you want to serve him, what have you do? Go ahead and read.
Let us go forth, therefore, unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach.
So now, if you want to do that, you have to go forth to Jesus without the camp. And you're going to bear his reproach.
Yes, sir.
You're going to go tell your mama, I can't go to that Sunday church no more. Why? Christ didn't rise on Easter Sunday morning. I don't want to deal with that Christmas tree no more. Why? Because Jeremiah 10th chapter tell you, go not in the way of the heathen. They go in the woods and they cut out a tree and they fasten it with nails and boards. They decorate it with silver and gold. That's when you had money. Now you get silver-looking baubles and gold-looking baubles. You understand what I'm saying? Don't do that. The Lord tell you these are the beasts you shall eat and these are the beasts you can't eat. But inside the camp so you can eat anything. All you got to do is believe on God. Outside the camp, the Lord said, man should not labor with mankind as womankind. Inside the camp, they said, man can marry a man and a woman can marry a woman. Where are the preachers? I'm listening. The silence is deafening. So now, if you want to serve the Lord, sisters and brothers, you have to go outside of the camp. That's where your God is. Jesus is not in these churches, sisters and brothers. As his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. Not on the first day of the week, the day of the sun worshipers. In fact, the Lord, that same Jesus told Ezekiel, son of man, I will show you a greater abomination. The elders of Israel with their back to the temple, worshiping the sun to the east. That's inside the camp. It was too dirty. Don't you know that the camp, even in Moses' day, got so dirty till the Lord had to come up out of it?
Yeah, he did.
How, Israel, he had just got Israel out. He stood on Mount Sinai and gave them the 10 Commandments. Then he told Moses, come up here, and I'm going to write them in stone with his own finger. Moses was up there for 40 days and 40 nights. You know what Israel said? Make us a God to go before us, because we don't know what to happen to this Moses. Aaron's supposed to be the high priest. You know what he told him? Take all the earrings out of your ears and give them to him. They took the earrings out of the ears and they made a calf. And then they declared, these be the gods, O Israel, that brought you out of Egypt. And everybody know that they come out of their ears. So if they can go for that, then we can go for stupidity too. Let's look at this, because the Lord was mad at these people. Let's go into Exodus 33rd chapter. Exodus chapter 33. He was mad at these people. He told Moses, get on down this mountain. Them people that you brought out of Egypt have quickly corrupted themselves.
Yeah, they corrupted themselves.
He didn't even want to claim to be the one that delivered them.